class, we have a very special guest today to read our next session of the one and only Ivan. This is my dad, Mr. Puglisi.
Hi everybody, how you doing?
We're very excited to have him today. I need a reading break, and he offered to read to you today. I caught him up on the one and only Ivan. He kind of knows what's going on, and he's going to be reading to you today, but we are going to take time to think about certain themes and messages throughout. So I'll give him a little tap and he'll pause, and we'll talk about Ivan as we discuss his time with Mac. That's what today is going to focus on, growing up with Mac. Yesterday, I asked you a question if you thought that Mac really did love Ivan from the start, or do you think that he always was going to use him for profit or for money? And some of you said yes, and some of you said no. And I think today we're going to be able to figure it out. So I'm going to pass it over to Mr. Puglisi, and he will read.
You could call me Bob if we ever meet each other.
Okay.
But I'm going to start, and this is under hunger. In my new life as a human, I was well tended. I ate lettuce leaves from Thousand Island dressing and caramel apples and popcorn with butter. My belly ballooned. But hunger, like food, comes in many shapes and colors. At night, lying alone in my poop pajamas, I felt hungry for the skilled touch of grooming friend, for the cheerful grunts of play and fight, for the easy safety of my nearby troop, forging through shadows. Remember what happened to Tag? I told myself, don't think about the jungle. Still, sometimes I lay awake, wishing for the warmth of another just like me. Asleep in the night nest of a tender prayer plant leaves. I liked having sips of soda poured into my mouth like a bubbling waterfall, but every now and then I longed to search for a tender stalk of arrowroot to feel the tease of mango just out of reach.
Okay, so we just read a little bit about Ivan and how he was starting to miss the jungle and his family, his troop, when he first got taken from them and was living with Mac. And our next page is on 135 if you're following along.
And this goes with still life. One day, Helen came home with something large and flat wrapped in brown paper. Look what I bought today, she said excitedly as she tore off the paper. A painting to go over the living room couch. Fruit in a bowl, Max said with a shrug. Big deal. This is fine art. It's called Still Life, Helen explained, and I think it's lovely. I dashed over to examine the painting, marveling at the colors and shape. See, said Mac's wife, Ivan likes it.
So even there we can tell that as a baby gorilla, Ivan had a love for painting and art, and he still feels that way today. So that's very, very interesting. Maybe this was the first time he ever saw a painting.
Ivan likes to roll up poop and throw it at squirrels, Max said.
There you go.
I couldn't take my eyes off the apples and bananas and grapes in the picture. They looked so real, so inviting, so edible. I reached out to touch a grape and Helen slapped my hand. Bad boy, Ivan, don't touch. She jerked her thumb at Mac. Honey, go get a hammer and a nail, would you? While Mac and Helen were busy in the living room, I wandered into the kitchen. A cake covered in thick chocolate frosting sat on the counter. I like cake. Love it, in fact. But it wasn't eating I was thinking about. It was painting. The frosting peaked and dipped like waves on a tiny pond. It looked rich and gooey and dark and smooth.
Yum.
It looked like mud. I scooped up a handful of frosting. I scooped up another.
Uh-oh.
I headed to the refrigerator door. It was perfect. An empty white waiting canvas. The frosting wasn't as easy to work with as jungle mud. It was stickier and, of course, more tempting to eat. Mm-hmm. But I kept at it. I scraped off every last bit of that frosting. I may have eaten a little cake, too.
Fair.
I don't remember what I was trying to paint. A banana, most likely. I suppose I knew I was going to get in trouble. But at that moment, I just didn't care. I wanted to make something, anything, the way I used to. I wanted to be an artist again.
Wait, before we head on, let's take a moment to think. So we know Ivan just ruined an entire cake and he put it all over the refrigerator. So I'm going to use my schema, my own personal experiences, and think, what would my mom, how would she react? Or my dad if I did that. So I'm going to give you a couple seconds to think about it. How would you react if I did that, Dad?
Oh, there'd be trouble. I think you'd be grounded
There'd
for
be
sure.
some punishment.
Yes.
Okay, let's see what happens to Ivan.
I soon learned that humans can screech even louder than monkeys. After that, I was never allowed in the kitchen again.
Oh boy, he got into trouble.
Back in those days, the Big Top Mall was smaller. It had a pony ride, a wooden train that bustled around the parking lot, a few bedraggled parrots, and a surly Spidey monkey. But when Mac brought me a baby gorilla dressed in a crisp tuxedo to the mall, everything changed.
Oh boy.
People came from far and wide to have their pictures taken with me. They brought me blocks and a toy guitar. They held me in their laps. Once I even held a baby in mine.
Oh boy.
She was small and slippery, bubbles flowing from her lips. She squeezed my fingers.
Aww.
Her rear was puffy with padding. Her legs bowed like bent twigs. I made a face. She made a face. I grunted. She grunted. I was so afraid she would fall that I squeezed her tightly and her mother yanked her away. I wonder if my mother ever worried about dropping us. We always held on, but that's easier to do when your mother is furry. Human babies are an ugly lot, but their eyes are like our babies' eyes,
Aww.
too big for their faces and for the world.
So now we're understanding that Mac did probably purchase Ivan with the intention or the goal of bringing him to the Big Top Mall and profiting off of him. So if you were someone who was giving Mac the benefit of the doubt, I think we should remember not to next time.
One day, after many weeks of loud talking, Helen packed a bag and slammed the front door and never came back.
Oh.
I don't know why. I never know the why of humans. That night, I slept with Mac in his bed. My old nests were woven of leaves and sticks and shaped like his bathtub, cool green cocoons. Mac's bed, like mine, was flat, hot, without sticks or stars. Still, he made a sleeping sound like the rumble my father used to make when all was well, a sound from deep inside his belly.
Maybe he was snoring a little bit.
I think so.
Like someone I know.
Oh, I try not to know. But
Mom snores too.
yeah.
Don't tell her
But
we told you that.
No, she gets
She doesn't know
mad.
it.
She'll never tell the truth.
All right, this is our last
Mac
page.
grew sullen. I grew bigger. I became what I was meant to be. Too large for chairs, too strong for hugs, too big for human life. I tried to stay calm, to move with dignity. I did my best to eat daintily. You like that?
Yeah.
But human ways are hard to learn, especially when you're not a human. When I saw my new domain, I was thrilled. And who wouldn't have been? It had no furniture to break, no glasses to smash, no toilets to drop Mac's keys into. It even had a tire swing.
Ooh.
I was relieved to have my own place. Somehow I didn't realize I'd be here quite so long. Now I think Pepsi.
Now I drink Pepsi.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. Just so they know.
Now I drink Pepsi, eat old apples,
Aw.
and I watch reruns on TV. But many days I forget what I am supposed to be. Am I a human? Am I a gorilla? Humans have so many words, more than they truly need. Still, they have no name for what I am.
Okay, so we're going to stop there. That's on page 143 if you're following along in your book. But before we end our session, I just want to talk, and we can now get Bob or my dad or Mr. Puglisi's opinion on Ivan. So in reading, outside of our book club, we're talking a lot about characters and character traits. And we're teaching them the difference between a feeling and a character trait. So you can feel angry, but you can't be an angry person. We don't want to describe people that way. So what would be a character trait that you would describe Ivan as? From what
I
you know?
think the way I see it is
Mm-hmm.
that I think Ivan's very confused with the new surroundings.
Yeah.
And the feeling that he has is a little bit of anticipation and maybe a little anxiety
Yeah.
because he's not fitting in like the other people
And I think that's a great
or
word.
animals.
I agree, because we talk a lot about our emotions and how we're feeling. And sometimes I even tell my students that I could feel anxious or anxiety, and they say that they do as well sometimes, because at this point in time, we're going all the way back to when Ivan first came to the zoo. And at first he was excited about his domain, but as we know now, he really doesn't love it there, and he's not as excited. But I think he's having a hard time identifying who he truly is and what his purpose is in life. So we're going to have to see if maybe Ruby, our little friend, provides him with a new purpose. But thank you for reading with us, Dad.
And thank you for joining today. It was my pleasure.
Hopefully, if we're back in our classroom, he'll be able to come in and read live to you in real life. That'd
I'd
be really fun.
so excited to see you all and have a good rest of the day and listen to your mom and dad.
Yes, you're grown-ups. Love you. See you tomorrow. Fill out the Google form. Follow our YouTube page to know when everything's posted. And I will see you on Monday.
Bye.